This is the Transformers Reactivate Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Now, Bumblebee is part of a 2-pack together with Voyager class Starscream from the Transformers Reactivate video game. I picked up this set from our toys. Let's get Bumblebee out of packaging. And here is Reactivate Bumblebee out of the box. And again, just like Starscream, the figure looks so cheap in packaging. I initially thought this was going to be a very, very brittle figure, given the fact that he's got that mustard yellow plastic all over him. But when you have him in hand, again, just like Starscream, the figure feels very solid and very premium. Details look fantastic. And he's a pretty hefty figure for a deluxe class. I mean, probably one of the biggest Bumblebee figures we've had from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 14.5 centimeters tall, or about 5 3/4 inches tall. And for comparisons, here he is with the other Reactivate Transformers figures I've reviewed. You've got Optimus Prime, you've got Starscream, both Voyager class figures, and Deluxe class Soundwave. And if I'm going to rank all 4 figures that I've reviewed, Optimus is definitely a top spot, followed by Starscream. And for third place, I'm going to have to go with Soundwave. And the only reason I'm putting Bumblebee dead last is not because he's the least. He's definitely an amazing figure, but his transformation wasn't as enjoyable. It's probably the least enjoyable out of all 4 of these figures. And here he is with the original Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Bumblebee, as well as the War for Cybertron Trilogy Netflix Earthrise Bumblebee. Now, for those of you new to the game, all of these figures are in the deluxe class scale. He comes with 2 pea shooters, very, very tiny weapons. I don't know how accurate they are to the video game, but they look really cool, actually, up close. The figure is actually made of this really nice mustard gold glossy plastic. It's nothing like the gold plastic we've seen from Revenge of the Fallen and Transformers the movie toy line that really crumbles after a few years. I think this is a more solid yellow plastic, and it really looks good. When you see it in packaging and even in the photoshopped renders, it does look cheap. But when you have it in hand and you hold it, it's actually very, very solid. It's very premium. I love how it looks. Truly, this figure was more than meets the eye. Articulation for the figure, he's got a ball-jointed neck. If you actually move this flap up, you can have him looking up very, very nicely. If he could fly in the video game, this would really, really look good. For the arms can go in and out, forward and backward 360. You've got a elbow joint that is on a ball hinge, so it acts like a swivel as well as a hinge. No wrist articulation. Hips are on ball joints that allow you to do the splits, go forward and backward. You got a thigh swivel, hinge knees, ankles are on ball joints. You can move the foot up and down and have the rocker tilt. One minor complaint in terms of articulation is this guy does not have any torso articulation. No swivel on the waist, which kind of sucks in terms of posing this figure, but I don't know how they could have put articulation in that torso because of the way the torso transforms and compresses all the car bits. The parts do compress very nicely. There's hardly any kibble on this figure. The wings are a natural kibble. You've got some asymmetric paint apps on the figure, particularly the knees and the wings. But unlike Starscream, all the pieces are symmetrically molded. There's no different piece here and there. The shoulders are the same, wings are the same, the knees are the same. They're just painted asymmetrically. Every inch, every millimeter of this figure has some really nice molded detail on it. I absolutely love the design of this figure. The weapons, he can hold them on either hand, obviously. You can also mount them on his shoulders. Don't know if this is part of the video game, but it probably is. Probably pop-up cannons. They look actually pretty cool. And then to store the weapons, you just shove them on the underside of his forearm. That's probably one of the few gaps that this figure has in terms of the sculpt, but you just shove those weapons in and they stay there. Transformation, okay, here we go. The arms, you want to start with them. Fold them like this. Make sure the weapons are already stored behind the forearms. Feet, rotate this way. Unfold the wheels. Rotate wheels here and fold up the feet. And here's the tricky bit, probably the most difficult part of the transformation, the torso. You want to open up this flap right here, and then you want to fold out the chest, and then this whole section right here where the arms stay is going to rotate all the way out. And this part right here, it should pop out and fold over the head like that. If you don't do that first, it's going to get stuck in here and it's going to be a horrible, horrible mess, okay? So go ahead and fold up the chest, this part of the chest, and then this arm section, shoulder section is going to fold up in front. You're going to tab and close in the windows, tab everything, form like the top part of the car. Now this part right here is going to form the bonnet or the hood. Gonna slide in here, and if you've done it properly, you should be able to form the top part of the car. This next part is the next tricky bit. See this hip section right here? You're gonna fold it all the way up here, and you're gonna stick it right up there, his back. Then the feet or the legs, they're going to scrunch up like sort of like a fetal position for Bumblebee. And at first I figured it's not going in, it's not tabbing in. The instructions tell you to just tab these pieces right there. But the key step is really to push that entire hip assembly or those pelvis of Bumblebee. You have to push it all the way so that until it snaps on the back right there. It should be flush. It should snap in all the way on his back. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to transform the legs properly. So once you've done that, you can now tab the fenders. Okay, right here. I love that the heel spurs have like these stingers, like a bee stinger. So yeah, pretty cool. Nice detail. If you've done that, then you're in good shape. Arms are going to fold in this way. Fold. And then fold the elbows, and you just need to shoot the fists there on the torso section. Make sure the guns are sort of, they don't tab in, they kind of just nestle right here on the knees. So just make sure they're doing that. Shoulder pads down, sure you fix Bumblebee's head first, and then you go ahead and just tab everything. Okay. Make sure the arms are sitting nicely, all scrunched up there. And like I said, the guns should be nestling just on top of the knees. If you do that, if you get to this position, then you're in very good shape. All that's left is really to close in all the remaining flaps and panels. So you can do this one first, just so you can stabilize this whole section, rear and top section of the car. So you know you're doing it properly. So yep, it feels like a jigsaw puzzle fit. So if you're able to tab the doors properly and seamlessly, then you've done a good job. Now, these panels right here, they're gonna swing over. There's a bit of a clearance issue with these panels. I've done this like 5 times now, and it's always the same. It's like 1.5 millimeters that they sort of failed to measure properly. So this thing is really going to be hitting this rear end of the fender. So you just need to just shove it a little bit. I mean, it doesn't put too much stress on the plastic, but it is annoying. They could have just measured that one out just by 1.5 millimeters. That would have been seamless. And then you just tab the fenders, and then this front bumper and grille is going to finish off the transformation and tab and lock in the front wheels. Yeah, he rolls very nicely. He clears the floor by about 1 millimeter or 2. And it's a cool looking alt mode. It's like a Cybertronian dune buggy. It really looks like a dune buggy on Cybertron if they had dunes. And at the same time, it feels like an Earth mode, sort of armored up Beetle. Paint apps look great. They really shine here. I mean, with the mustard gold yellow plastic, they really make the alt mode pop. I love that the rims are painted. The wheels are mushroom pegged in. They're not riveted, but it's fine. They really roll very nicely. And they sound premium. They don't sound cheap or light. They sound very, very solid despite looking very cheap. You get really nice gunmetal gray metallic paint apps on the rear. You see that Autobot faction symbol, some thrusters. Everything looks great about this alt mode. For comparisons, here he is with a couple of deluxe class figures from the War for Cybertron trilogy line. We've got Sideswipe. This is Kingdom Sideswipe. And we've got the Earthrise Trailbreaker. This I would categorize as a small deluxe, like in alt mode. I mean, the robot mode is standard size, but the alt mode is pretty small. This one is a regular sized deluxe alt mode. So he's sort of in the middle of that. What he lacks in length, he does make up for in girth and in height. And here he is with the Earthrise Netflix Bumblebee, also a deluxe class figure. It looks like a Legends class or a core class compared to him. And so some final thoughts on this Reactivate Bumblebee. Boy, this figure turned out great. I really didn't expect to like this figure. On paper, for me, it looked like a mess. It looked cheap. The promo pics did not do justice to this figure. But when you get him in hand, the figure feels very, very premium. Solid plastic, amazing plastic quality, impeccable paint apps. The design and sculpting of this mold is absolutely stellar and on point. This has got to be one of the best looking Bumblebee figures out there. Articulation, well, it's a little bit lacking in the torso area. It's a small, minor complaint for me. I wish they could have put some extra swivels or a waist swivel somewhere there. The transformation for this figure, admittedly, is way better than some of the engineering we've seen for a lot of the Studio Series Bumblebee figures, and to a certain extent, some of the Generations figures. But it is still a little bit challenging. It could put off some collectors who are really looking for a more seamless transformation for a Bumblebee figure. But nevertheless, once you transform the figure properly, a sweet looking alt mode and robot mode is waiting for you as a reward. So with that, I think I'm going to give the figure a 9.5 out of 10. It's not perfect because of the transformation and the lack of torso articulation. It is still one of the best Bumblebee figures from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this Transformers Reactivate Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.